Good morning, wonderful people, and welcome to the Black Pill Radio Show. I'm your host, Mr. Tyler, and today we have a wonderful topic. We are talking with artists, creators, filmmakers, and we're also talking about why it's important for Black people to own and control their own films, their own media. So I'm going to have the panel introduce themselves, and then we're going to go right into the discussion. Eric, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, this is Eric, director for Makeup and Breakup web series on YouTube.
And Sasha?
Hi, I'm Sasha. I'm the screenwriter, director for the web series Basic to Bougie.
And Danielle?
Hello, my name is B. Danielle Watkins. I am the writer, creator, and star of the new Reverie original series 3030, as well as the writer of the YouTube web series Girls Just Don't Do That.
Excellent. And last but not least, Brandon?
Hi, I'm Brandon Hairston, the writer and director of the show Bad Web Series and DC Yuppies on YouTube.
Great. So I want to throw the first question to Danielle. My question to you is, why is it important for us as Black people to own and control our own film production companies? Why must we own our own media, our own film production, our own web series?
To be honest, I started my production company because there was so much out there that didn't represent me. So in order for us to fulfill that, we have to do it ourselves because there's so many walls blocking us and stopping us from being who we really are and who we think we should see. So that's the only reason I even started my production company, and I went as hard as I did because I knew it was important to me to be seen as I am on screen.
Okay, and we're going to get into that as well. So Brandon, why was it important for you to start your own film production company?
But jumping right into film, when I looked online, I watched a lot of web series, and I saw a lot of things that I wanted to do, a lot of ideas. It made me excited, it made me interested. And like Danielle said, when I was starting, I was putting my ideas together. I didn't see a company that was in the DMV that went with the ideas that I had or had the same vision that I shared. So I think that it was important for me to put my own company together so that I can make sure the stories that I wanted were represented in the way that I wanted them to be portrayed or visually. So that's why I went the route of starting my own rather than going under somebody that was already established.
So Eric, I heard Danielle and Brandon talk about why it was important for them to start their own production companies. But in terms of our people, our communities, why is it important for our communities to start our own film and production companies?
Me specifically, I work in television, work for a network on the digital side. So what I started noticing is that a lot of times my peers would have these amazing ideas, and they would get discouraged because when they would go to pitch, it wasn't room for them to pitch. Like they weren't getting access to those to the people that bring your project to network television or cable television. So they would just let their ideas sit on the back burner as opposed to just going forth and shooting it. So I started my web series specifically because YouTube provided a platform for people to see my content. So that's mainly what was my objective.
Okay, and Sasha, last but not least, why was it important for you to create your own media?
Hello. As Danielle said, I really feel like open representation is really important, especially now that everyone's trying to break down walls. For me, it was just about making sure that other people can see that we are intelligent, we are normal, quote unquote normal. We're not these stereotypes that people have portrayed us for so long. So it's really important for, like I said, for everyone to see that, we can build our own and we can represent for our own. It's just going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of hard work. And if we do it just on our own first, then I feel like other people will start to pick up on that and we'll build together as a community.
Excellent. So I want to ask you guys to talk about your series because I know people are listening right now and they're hearing what you guys got to say and they're probably excited to know what you guys have produced. They heard you mention some of the web series that you guys have worked on, but in terms of you guys really getting into the plot and the story about what you guys have created, they might not know. So Danielle, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about the web series that you've worked on and maybe you have some other projects as well.
Okay, I'll start with 3030 since that is the forefront really of my life right now. 3030 is a sitcom on a streaming service entitled Reverie, which has been coined by like Logo and all these different places as the queer Netflix. It is a streaming service that is strictly catered to the LGBTQIA um, community. So my series is about two black lesbians who are best friends. One of them just recently got divorced. The other one has been heartbroken since college. They live together and they're 30 and they're trying to live. And it's based off of my best friend and I and things that we had gone through when we were younger. And it just took all of the things together and made it this just hilariously funny 6 episode first season. As far as Girls Just Don't Do That, that is based off of the book entitled Girls Just Don't Do That. That was written by this amazing author, Natalie Simone. That is completely on YouTube as well. It's just about different friends and different things that people don't really realize happen in lesbian relationships, like highlighting more so domestic violence, highlighting, the straight girl that wants to mess with a girl but don't want the world to really know that she's messing with girls, so she's masculine with dealing with men as well, and the pain and the different things that go along with that. So both shows are on totally different spectrums, but they both highlight a lot of things in the community that people don't see. People don't really realize how normal it is. They almost demonize being a black lesbian. The mainstream media has made a black lesbian this rough, dark, drug dealer almost type of person. And when I watch it, I see these lesbians that I don't recognize. They're not in my circle. They're not my friends. They're not even me. And then the more feminine people that they put in these roles, they don't represent me either. So when I came together, especially when I created 3030, my main goal was for people outside of my community, even if for the white male, to see it and be able to relate and laugh and not just see lesbians on the screen.
So have you got any pushback about your web series? How was your web series received?
3030, as far as that platform is concerned, is doing amazing. 3030, we're preparing for season 2, and everybody that has seen it has loved it. The only issue people have had is the length, and we did it shorter on purpose because in the event it wasn't well received, we didn't waste a lot of money. Girls Just Don't Do That. The YouTube audience is different. The YouTube audience that's a whole different culture. So it has over 500,000 views on one of the episodes alone. And out of those views, we probably got 2,000 dislikes. People are very critical on YouTube. They have, you would think that these people all own their own businesses and they are all out there doing the same thing that you're doing. That everybody is a critic. But the majority of the people loved it because of the reality of it.
So for those 2,000 haters out there, was it more about the content in terms of, lesbian lifestyle, or was it something else?
We run into a lot of that, though. I have a film entitled Kisses in the Wind that is also on YouTube, and it's about religion and lesbianism. And people got on there just to take it down and just, oh my God, you are going to hell, you're biased, you're this, you're that. So all the Bible thumpers, anybody that has a problem with anything that can hide behind a computer is on YouTube.
Got it.
Even if they feel like it should have been more white people on the show, it's just they hide behind that and they say anything that they want to say. It's about everything.
Got it. So Brandon, I know you created the Bad web series. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so Bad web series actually came from my work on DC Yuppies, the web series. I started that one first, and we did 2 seasons on YouTube. And what that one was actually a dramedy that just followed a group of friends. It was a scripted show. Followed a group of friends from the Washington, D.C. metro area, and it just talked about their friendships and relationships and dating and living in the DMV. I felt like a lot of people have not seen that, or if they have, they haven't seen it in a while. So I tried to give a peek into the life of the group of friends in the mid to late 20s, early 30s, and just to show what it's like living in the DMV and happy hours. And we're kind of, I guess people say we're kind of cliquish, so I tried to show that in the show as well. But from some of that, I learned a lot of production lessons that was my first show, my first web series, and I learned a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So I took those lessons and kind of made Bad Web Series, which is a play on itself. It's a comedy or a parody that there is a plot, but there's a subplot that shows like the different things that happen behind the scenes. So we looked at other web series. We looked at what happened within DC Yuppies and took those situations and actually put it into the plot. So, for example, I know all of us have worked on series where you call action and your characters are going through the scene and somebody in the background for some reason forgot to silence their phone. So now you have that take. Now, normally you would cut that phone out, but we would do stuff like that on purpose and leave it in and have the characters react to the phone ringing. So it's stuff like that, or where a character shot one scene one day and they were supposed to have that same outfit on the next day and they forgot to bring it. So now you're trying to figure out how to write around that. Well, we left it in, and the audience actually loved like seeing stuff like that. So we're playing on ourselves, but it's the show for the content creator, and it's a show for the avid web series watcher that catches stuff like that.
And I watched that series, and it was very funny. I thought it was very creative. I haven't seen anything like that out there, so kudos to you for that. So we're going to go to Miss Sasha. I know your series has not come out yet, but just tell us a little bit about what you shot so far.
Yeah, so it's about a Black woman who turns 25, and she's having a midlife crisis. She is actually from Phoenix, Arizona, and she moves to New York City to work for a startup, and she's into behavioral marketing, so she basically just analyzes consumer behavior. So like Facebook, like if you go on a website, pretty much, let's say you go on Fashion Nova, and you go off of Fashion Nova and go on Facebook and you see that there's ads all over the place for Fashion Nova, like they're just tracking like your behavior on like what you go on and like try to get you to buy it. So that's what she's supposed to analyze. It's like a drama comedy, and it's just about like self-awareness and about dealing with things that most people kind of repress on the low, and she's kind of dealing with grieving. Her dad passed away after she graduated college. She never got a chance to deal with that, and then she kind of ignores her mom, and that relationship is a little bit broken. So it's just about exploring different sides of people's personalities and things that they kind of hold back that they need to really address first before they can really move on with their lives. So, and it's also about other people too. Like there's a woman in the series called Janice, and she's like the life coach. She's like the Jamaican with 8 jobs, and she's like Sasha's confidant. And then Sky is like Sasha's best friend, and she's dealing with her own conflict where she was supposed to get married, but while she was getting fertility treatments while being engaged, her fiance cheated on her and got somebody else pregnant. So there's a lot going on there. So
sounds good. So Mr. Eric, why don't you tell us about your series Makeup and Breakup?
Makeup and Breakup is about millennial dating in New York City. It follows Blake and Brooke, who were once in a relationship for 2 years, and as he's about to propose to Brooke, she breaks up with him suddenly, so he never gets to pop the question. It shows how relationships sometimes come back into the fold. People are scared to move on, and we just follow about 4 or 5 different characters and their peaks and valleys within their relationships. So I got the inspiration. I used to live in New York City for about 9 years, in Harlem specifically, and just showing how because the city moves so fast and life is just going and everybody's trying to pursue a career, people don't fight for love anymore. It's specifically like with social media, it's kind of like if we break up, I can just move on to the next person. And that's what I was starting to see as I lived in New York City. You did have some success stories with people actually making it. You had people who come to New York City, ended up hating the city and just moving back home just so they could have a normal lifestyle. So those are the things that I tried to group together within the series. And right now we're on our 2nd season.
Excellent. So I want to bring in a new creator into our conversation. Roger, can you introduce yourself and then go into talking about the series that you created and what that's all about?
Hi, everyone. Yes, so I created 2 series. One was called Finding Me, the series, and that was a spin-off from the 2 films that I did, Finding Me and Finding Me Truth. That lasted 2 seasons, and then I've done a spin-off series from that call the Decalogue a Finding Me story, which is an anthology story. So there are several chapters. Each chapter has parts, and each part equals an episode. So chapter 1 is entitled Talks with Myself, and there's parts 1, 2, and 3, and 4 that are out right now that we've aired. And chapter 2 is called James and Danielle, which hasn't aired yet. We're still filming that right now. But it's a story that that follows the lives of the characters that were supporting characters in the Finding Me series, and now we spotlight on their lives. And each chapter is very different, but it's all in one big world. So I've basically created an entire kind of universe, in a sense, from the Finding Me films that have now spun off from all of these characters that were introduced in that series.
So I watched some of the Finding Me series, and it's a very good series. I've worked with one of your actresses, Camille Rogers, that you have on the series as well. I know your series and Danielle's series have a connection because it's dealing with gay content. And Danielle talked about some of the hate that she got from people online because of gay content. Have you experienced anything like that?
When we were on YouTube, which was season 1, we experienced that, but my experience was very little in terms of the comments that we got, because most of the comments we were getting were more positive, mainly because, so I did 2 films, and then when we started the series, it was really supposed to be an experiment. So we released 3 episodes just to see what people thought of the series, because we knew a lot of people didn't see the movies, because the movies were distributed by TLA Releasing, and they didn't really, their let's just say their advertisement team really didn't push the series, the movies that well. So the experiment was to see if people would watch the series that would want to then watch the movies. We had no idea that it was going to take off the way it did, because it started off as like mini-sodes. That's what I called them at first. So like 7-minute episodes. And the comments that we were getting were, oh, I want more. I want it to be longer. So then we started developing the episodes to be a lot longer for that audience. But as she said before, with YouTube, you have a bunch of people with internet courage, meaning you don't see their face, but they can just type whatever they want. But I will be honest, I don't remember a lot of the negative comments. There were more negative comments later, after we moved away from YouTube and we left the episodes on there for a while. But when the initial air dates on YouTube, I didn't really see a lot of those negative comments. That was my experience.
And I know Danielle has a whole bunch of positive comments, way more positive than negatives, but we were just kind of discussing what the negative comments were like in terms of the gay lifestyle. I know Danielle's series deal more with the female, and yours deals more with the male. So it's just an interesting, thing going on with that. But everybody needs to check out both series so you can get an idea of what's going on with that. So I want to move this into a different direction. I want to talk about YouTube, Vimeo, and some of the paid platforms that are out there. So for our creators who have web series or are thinking about creating web series but want to monetize, Danielle, what direction can they go into when it comes into monetizing their content?
It honestly depends on, I know money is important, but who your target audience is. Because as I said earlier, the YouTube culture, this cult phenomenon that we've created in YouTube, is a totally different audience than the audience that's going to pay for a monthly subscription on something else. And what I learned switching platforms was I have this extremely large YouTube following. The craziness of it, they call us celesbians, because there's this cult following that they follow each web series, and they follow the characters, they follow the writers. They become consumed with this, what they think is reality. But they ain't that consumed, because once you gotta pay $4.99 a month, which is what happened when we moved 30/30 to Reverie and never put it on YouTube, the views went from 1 million to 1,000. Things like that happen. So it really depends on what your ultimate goal is. If you want immediate, let's do it. Go ahead and get on YouTube. Once you get to that number, you're going to make money, but YouTube is going to take 50%. So it really depends on what you really want to do. Vimeo as well. These are very, very well-known platforms. These are platforms where people sit down on a day-to-day basis and look for web series. There are people who do nothing else with their time but want to watch web series and will watch every web series that's out. So if you just want to be seen, do it. But if you're looking for more of a long-term, more of a building situation, you're looking for a place to go and grow, then you look for you try and get on things like Amazon Prime, which has Amazon Direct, and you can upload it yourself. You don't have to get approved. You upload it, and then if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it. Like we're on Reverie. You get on Reverie. People have to get on there and subscribe to be able to watch it. You have ways to get on Netflix, and even though there has to be a demand, there's still a way to go around that and be in a place where it is considered, quote unquote, reputable to be. So it really depends on what you want out of your story and how you want it to be presented.
All right. And Roger, what was your experience with the subscription base?
Exactly kind of what Danielle said. When we were on YouTube, our fan base was huge. Then when we realized that YouTube, in a sense, is raping us. And when I say that, we put our ideas, we put our stories, we put all of our actors and everything on that platform, and you kind of get this feeling that there are a lot of people that are watching it, those with the money, that can then take your idea and produce it with their budget. When we realized that is when we moved to our own platform, which is called OmiPro TV, and basically it's a pay per view kind of channel. So if you buy an episode, our episodes are $1.99 for download or $1.50 to rent. The amount of viewers did not translate from YouTube to the website, and in the beginning it was disheartening, but you begin to realize there are people who are wanting to see something for free, and that's one fan base. But then you see there's that loyal fan base that wants the content, that wants to follow the story, and those are the ones that are willing to pay. And there was one point I had to put up a notice. We had to literally write a letter for the fans, because some people were saying, "Oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that," which is true. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm not in anyone's pocket, but it's interesting how people are willing to support one thing or even the mainstream shows, because everything is for sale, or everything you're paying for. People think something is on there for free, so I don't have to pay for it. Well, you're paying for your cable subscription. You're paying for whether it be Hulu or Netflix or whatever. So why is it that you can't pay for content for a community that you're a part of? And that has always baffled me. But I have not looked back since creating the website in terms of going back to YouTube. I've never thought, oh, I should go back to YouTube, because I don't think that it benefits those of us who are creating content with quality and trying to create and garner a viewership. I think it's very necessary for anyone out there who's trying to create their own series. You should start in the beginning, maybe just to get like a taste test in a sense of what your audience may be like, but eventually you will want to go on your own platform, or whatever platform is willing to help you monetize your product.
Sounds good. So I want to move the conversation to financing, and I want to bring that to Brandon. So Brandon, Roger talked about the money. Danielle talked about the money. There's cost to put together these productions, and at the end of the day, while we want to entertain and we want to get our faces and our voices out there, we do want to reap some benefits from the hard work that we're putting in and from the money that we put out. So what is your experience when it comes to financing your web series? Are you doing it to turn a profit? Have you turned a profit? Just give us an overview of what that's like for you.
Well, when I did DC Yuppie Season 1, I was really kind of on my own, so to speak. I had to put everything up out of pocket up front. But then I did a crowdfunding I did, Indiegogo, and that helped to raise some additional money to kind of offset some of those costs. Season 1 was a little difficult just as far as financing, because here I am, a new writer, new creator. No one's heard of me, so it's like, why should we take a chance on you? Family and friends were a big part of the support system, and then from there they would reach out to other people and let them know, hey, I have a friend or a family member that's doing something cool. Why don't you check it out? Check out the trailer if it's something you're interested in. Maybe you could support. So that went a long way. Season 2 was a lot better because I had one season under my belt. People were able to see a product, see what direction I was going in. And from there, I linked up with someone who was able to consult with a list of their clients and provide sponsorship. Sponsorship is one of the better ways, I think, to go about it. I think it's a little harder, but I think if you're successful at it, it's one of the better ways to go, because it's pretty much free money just to show off someone's product or someone's skill. So, for example, we had a scene where the cast they were having like a Thanksgiving with just the cast members, and we had a chef that was willing to tell people that he had a new catering business. All he wanted to do was cook for us, and what we did was while the cast was making their plates, we would just show off the food. And at the beginning, we gave him like a 10-second commercial with his contact information. So it just, we helped each other out. So I think that was definitely the best way to go. As of now, or back then, I wasn't really looking for a profit. It was more so how to promote Brandon the writer or Brandon's ideas. So profit, even though of course it was a loss, but it was a gain as far as putting myself out there, getting people to know what type of writing I was doing, what type of projects I was doing. So it was a way of promoting myself. I didn't really think of it as money, but of course the end goal is, how can we turn this into a profitable experience? And that's what I'm working on now, is moving from, okay, people know what I am or who I am, what I'm about, but how can we move that into something that's profitable?
Okay, and Eric, can you add to that? What was your experience like in terms of financing your projects, and are you doing it to turn a profit? If so, did you turn a profit?
So my experience was okay. I would say roughly about 2 years to finance my project. It wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap at all. I did it mainly because, my end goal was to break into the writer's room. And people will always ask you, well, what do you have? Can I see something? Like, what kind of content do you have? So it worked for me because it went from me being able to have something that was tangible, because I wouldn't say they wouldn't doubt you in the beginning, but they're just kind of like, oh, okay, everybody has an idea, everybody has a vision, but how can you execute? So when we came out with the first season to Make It a Breakup, it kind of changed the narrative. Like, we would go to a lot of film festivals, make a lot of contacts, and people were starting to be more receptive because they're like, okay, this kid, he kind of has something. So from my perspective, I think that YouTube worked for me. As far as like recuperating funds, not really. YouTube, you can get some money when you put sponsorships in front of your videos, but it's really not anything. YouTube kind of reaches everybody that's known. So it just depends on what your end goal is. Are you doing it to get exposure for your writing? Are you doing it to maybe get a network deal? I think that's the vision that you kind of got to go with. But if you're looking to make a profit off of YouTube, you have to have like millions of views to turn any type of profit, and it's still not going to add up to the money that you probably put into the project. So so far so good. We'll see how it pans out.
Okay, so I want to move this conversation to casting and characters. I'm going to start with Sasha. When you create your stories and you're thinking about the characters and you're thinking about our people and people of color, does any of that play into how you cast? And if so, why and how? And when it comes to social issues that are going on in our communities, do your characters does your thinking play into how we are portrayed in real life? I know somebody mentioned how we're portrayed on TV and the stereotypes and that kind of thing. So as a creator, maybe I'm thinking, well, I don't want to portray that stereotype, so I'm specifically casting something different. Or is it, hey, I'm just casting what I feel and it is what it is? So hopefully you can put that all together and manage that, Sasha. But what is it like for you when it comes to creating characters and casting characters?
Yeah, I feel like intention is really important and purpose. The intention and purpose behind casting is really important. This is my first web series, so casting was extremely hard because I didn't know people like that. So I had to depend on like third party websites to find people. Like Model Mayhem has been a little tricky, but I've learned to work through that. But when I'm writing, I'm thinking about the best representation possible, like making sure that everyone has speaking lines to some extent, making sure that everyone is being represented in the best way possible where people can see them in a positive light opposed to a negative light where it's like, okay, we've seen this already. Like, so my intention is always to make sure that everyone is represented the best way possible in a very positive light. Like if they're in like let's say the character has a profession, I make sure that gets highlighted. I make sure if they have a degree that gets highlighted or whatever they're doing to be a positive member of society. I make sure that gets highlighted. So I don't really think about, well, let's make her the angry black woman or let's do this, let's do that. I think there's always a way to, like, if you need someone to be a certain way, even if it's in a negative light, you can still turn it and make it positive where people can still respect it and not be like, okay, we've seen that stereotype before.
All right, sounds good. So I want to bring this question as well to Danielle. Danielle, I know when you're casting content that is the gay lifestyle content, is it hard to find experienced actors, or are you casting people who are friends? Like, what is your process with that? And also, are you conscious about what's going on with the gay community and the stereotyping that goes on with that? Does that play into how you write and how you create your characters?
Well, it depends on which project. Like with 3030, a lot of that was because so many web series were so heavy. They were so dark about all the negative, all the bad, all these other things that were happening. So when I was writing it, yeah, we touched on some of it, but it wasn't. It's a happy place. 3030 is just a happy, silly place to be. So I didn't want that to be heavy, but on other projects, yes, we touched on things like transitioning and things that are very important in today's society, things that are on the forefront. As far as casting is concerned, and I've been doing this now for 6 years, so I do use third party. I do have a Rolodex of actresses, actors. It just depends on what I'm looking for. There are projects where I handpick actors. There are projects when I put a casting call out and I see what comes from it. But it's always about, I'm a writer first. That's regardless of what else I do, I'm a writer first. And when I'm writing, it's about the story. So it's about how this particular character will bring out this particular part of the story. Or if this one character, even if it's only in one scene, one line, how important that character is going to be, or if it's even needed. So it's so many different factors when it comes to that. It just depends on the project and what your goal is. Like everything, always the ultimate thing is what you want to do with this. Do you want good actors or you want your friends? Like it just depends on what you want to do.
So, Eric, I'm going to throw that question to you. How does that relate for you when you're casting your characters? Is it like Danielle said, it's first and foremost, it's about the story I want to create, not necessarily thinking about what's going on in society per se, or do you constantly think about how we are portrayed in the media and how you may want to make it a little different within your story, but still not losing the story that you want to create?
I think casting, that's like my niche. Like that's something that I like to do. So I don't do like the untraditional casting. Send out casting calls, have a whole bunch of people come in and they just see them perform whatever monologue. With me, it's a little bit different because I feel like sometimes when I started, I would do casting calls and I would sit there for like an hour searching for like a specific character and I wouldn't get it. So when I got somebody that was half decent, I would get excited thinking that they were this amazing actor, and then only to figure out that they're okay. Like, you know what I mean? So I pretty much cast off the real. I like to see people in different lights and different, like, see how far they can go, how far they can stretch. Their artistic approach, or I may give them a monologue, and if I see something there, I kind of work with them. I think that casting is key. When I was in high school, I went to a performing arts high school. Undergrad, I studied television production. So you start to see that it's not just about reciting lines. Acting is an art form. People literally leave their homes in the middle of the Midwest or anywhere in the country just to come to New York to study acting. So I understand that, and I take that, and I try to find people that, you know what I mean, are serious about their craft. So I would say about 70% of my actors come from acting school. Susan Batson Acting School in New York City. They take classes daily, and those are the people that I want to attract, because those people, like, you know what I mean, they give it their all, and they're all out here just trying to achieve this one dream of making it. So that's kind of like the approach that I take when I cast. As far as writing characters, I just want it to be real narrative and just realistic. I really focus on character development within my series. So I try not to do everything for shock value. So a lot of my favorite shows are Queen Sugar or This Is Us, because they spend a lot of time focusing on character development. If you're a good writer, you can get your point across. You don't have to just show somebody getting shot so everybody can be left with a cliffhanger. You could kind of like write some good dialogue where people can still be intrigued. So that's one of the things that my show targets. It's all about like monologues and giving each character a time to shine, because in the end, I want them to be able to take parts of the show and show it to somebody and say, this is what I've done. Either can I get a job off of this, or can you work with me based upon the potential that you see within my acting ability. So that's the kind of standpoint that I take.
Sounds good. So for people who may be tuning in now, I want you guys to understand that we're talking about creating our own films as Black filmmakers, as Black film creators, and why that's important. But I also want people to understand the process of what our filmmakers go through, the steps that they have to take to get that project out there. Once that project's out there, what are they doing next with the project? And then where do they go next as filmmakers? Do they continue the process, or do they kind of stop because financially it might be a little difficult? So we want to give you guys a little tidbits of everything, the kind of the whole overview of what it's like to be a filmmaker. So I want to move this next question to Roger, and I want to talk about the equipment. I know you've been doing web series for a while, so you may have started with certain equipment in the beginning, then maybe you got some money, and or maybe you became more knowledgeable about other equipment that be more beneficial to the production, so maybe you switched over. So what is that process like when you're looking for a DP for your camera work, a sound mixer, sound operator, and you're looking for your lighting? Or were you doing it yourself with your friends, and then when things kind of picked up, you was able to get a crew? Take us from point A to point B in terms of what that experience was like for you.
Okay, so when I did season 1 of Finding Me, I did mainly all the production myself. So I was the writer, producer, I was the videographer, the DP, I was the editor. I used my own lighting equipment that I purchased from a store here in New York called B&H, which is, if you're a filmmaker, it's your Toys R Us, because everything is in there, is what you want. Can't afford it. So as we were releasing the episodes, they were decent. They were okay looking. But the most important equipment that I think any filmmaker should have is sound, because sound can either amplify or distract from the story. And all of us indie filmmakers, we don't necessarily have a budget for a studio or to lock down a location. So you're oftentimes filming in working places. And so the sound is key, because if you're in, say, a cafe that's actually working, they're usually playing music. If they're, nice enough, they can turn that off. But there's people coming in. There's that the espresso machines that's going on in and off, or on and off. You want the sound to be able to not pick that up, so that you don't lose the story and the dialogue. So season 1, again, was an experiment. And I learned a lot more in terms of what I can and cannot do with the limitations of the budget that I have. When we got to the end of season 1, we saw the feedback we were getting from the audience, but most importantly, we also saw other shows being released. Because when I released Finding Me, the series, that was back in 2012. So there weren't as many web series as there are now. So when we saw other web series coming up and seeing what other people are doing and what they were focusing on, it challenged me to change my art as well. So when season 2 came around, I realized as the writer and director, I cannot wear that many hats. So we did hire a DP. His name is Frankie Hurley Jr. And with that, I was able to release one aspect of it and kind of put it on his reins, and I was able to look at the story from another view. So it's important to try to find someone who can align with your vision and amplify it that much more in terms of the vision. So at the end of the day, if you have a good script and you have a good cast and a good story, that's really the main things that you need. But you, again, want the other aspects to amplify the story that you're telling. So the DP then can focus on a great shot in terms of an angle that when you're watching the story and you can, in terms of editing, you can cut to a wider angle so you can see the breadth of where the characters are, and that adds to the story. That's the reasons why you have a DP. Some people tend to lose themselves in, I want it to look like this, and it doesn't add to the story at all, having a certain angle. The angles and all of those new things should only add to the story. So, you get, especially when you're dealing with Black people, we come in different shades, all of us. And so you want to be able to light them differently. And you can use little tricks in terms of filters for the lenses, or, even like there's this thing called a silver board where it's silver on one side, is white on the other. And that can bounce the light from the sun onto the actor so that you have the different shades to complement the actor's complexions. Those are little things that you can get that are affordable, that you just need to learn how to play around with, but you do need to experiment with them when you're on set. So I think the equipment aspect of it can get daunting because a lot of it is expensive, but there's a lot of tricks, a lot of things that you can do on your own that can amplify the story as well.
Excellent. So I want to take that question to Brandon as well. What equipment were you using then when you first started out? Where are you now? And tell us a little bit about the camera equipment as well.
It's interesting. So when I started with DC Yuppies, I actually worked with a friend that posted a picture of their camera online when I was looking for DPs and a crew. He posted a picture of his camera, and I just started from there. I just messaged him and said, "Hey, I didn't know that you were in the filming." And from there, we got a contract together. He brought his equipment over, and he and the rest of his crew became my crew for DC Yuppies. I had never used a camera. That was my first show. That was my first time, seeing the amount of equipment, the amount of time it takes to set up everything, and they pretty much did everything. They did the sound, but they gave me some experience, holding the camera, so I could gain experience that way. So I learned through them, but they pretty much took on everything: the sound, the lighting, the filming. They did it all, and the only thing I had to be there for was to help with editing. And now with Bad Web Series, because it's intentionally a bad web series, and this doesn't mean that just because someone else may be using this method too that their method is bad, but we took everything as far that we put towards the production side as far as equipment, and we trimmed all of that to put towards our budget as far as the actual story and the different post-production costs. So our film crew right now consists of 2 to 3 people using their iPhones. The quality actually looks as good as we wanted it to. The cameras are clear enough that the images don't look like, oh, you shot this on a phone. Like it looks good. The sound, like you were talking about, we can actually edit that out based on iMovie or Final Cut. So we use like the basic stuff just to make sure that our stories are being told. We don't want to say, oh, you can't afford this, so you have to hold that story, for another year or 2 years. We have the equipment that we need to make our show what we want it to come out as. And since this is a parody about the web series experience, sometimes that angle may be off, and we may say, hey, that actually works for what we're trying to do here. Let's leave it in. Or, if it is too bad, then we'll say, we got to do it again. But I think for the purposes of Bad Web Series, the iPhones have been working really well. And then we also have our own lighting. So it's been working well for us, and I think for anyone that, like you said, already is talented enough to have good script, good actors, a good storyline, and you're trying to make sure that story comes out, but you may not have the financial backing to push it. If you're skilled at if you're already skilled enough to know how to operate a camera, I think that you should go ahead and try a short film on an iPhone and see how it comes out. And if it's something that you're pleased with, then I would say go ahead and move forward.
All right, sounds good. So I want people to get some specifics out there because I know the first question people always ask is, what camera do you use? What camera do you use? So Danielle, for your last project, what camera did you guys use for that production?
I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't have those type of answers. I have no idea. I try not to even get involved in that because I don't know anything about it. I have a DP. He works for Fox. I know he has a Red and he has something else. And then there was this Canon camera that he used that looked like a bubble. I have no idea what they use. I don't ask them type of questions. As long as it looks good, I'm good.
All right, so if it looked like a bubble, he was probably on a C100, C200, 300, 500, something like that. The Red camera is a really good camera as well. If you can get your hands on a Red camera to create your web series, you're starting at a good place in terms of video quality. So I want to move on to the next thing, which is the last thing, which is marketing and promotion. So a lot of us film these web series and we feel great about it, but then nobody sees it because there's, like Roger talked about, there's a lot of competition out there with the web series. People are doing things with their cell phones and just throwing them up. And sometimes the story is funny or creative. People dismiss the little things like sound and maybe slightly bad lighting, but the story is funny, so people kind of watch it. It's a lot of competition. So once our web series are done, our films are done, and we want to get it out to the masses, we want people to see it, we want to get feedback. What is that process like? And I'm going to give that question to Eric. Hopefully Eric's still on the line. If not, let's go to Roger. Roger, what is the marketing process like for you?
Well, that is a well-kept secret that I'm still trying to figure out, to be honest with you. In terms of marketing, I would say if you do have a budget, that's where the bulk of your budget would have to go, because you're trying to reach an audience that doesn't know you're there. And especially if you step away from YouTube, which is a free market, let's say, how will they know to look for your show in a field filled with different shows? And you're not just competing with other web series, you're competing with mainstream series. So for every Finding Me, there's someone who's watching Queen Sugar, and they feel as though, I get everything I need to get from this show. Why do I need to take the time out to watch your 10-minute, half-hour, or 7-minute show? So I've really been scratching my head to the point that I'm bald, which I'm not, but trying to figure out how to get this marketing game up, because it is very difficult. So I say that the best way is to get a budget together for a marketing team, and it's very important that as we are filmmakers and we have indie filmmakers, we have to wear many hats. That's just a part of the game, part of the deal. It's sometimes important that you relinquish control, and that is very hard for us because it is our babies, it is our vision. We don't want someone just manipulating or taking it or moving it in the wrong direction. But there are times where you do have to put your trust into someone else. With the guide of your hand, of course, you're always watching something. You're not just walking away because you're always involved. But let someone else take control if they have that background, and let them do that, so that you can concentrate on doing the filming aspects or what the writing aspects or directing, whatever your zhuzh is in terms of creating it. So marketing-wise, what I've done is release a lot of clips on Instagram. But it's funny, social media can be a tricky thing. I call them phantom audiences, in the sense that it takes nothing for them to click a like button. But does that like translate into them going to your website, to then clicking and actually purchasing or watching your episode? So that's, again, why it's so tricky for me, because I can get a whole lot of likes on Instagram from a bunch of people I don't know, but that doesn't always translate to them actually watching and viewing and purchasing. So I hate to sit here and not give you an answer, but it is a puzzling question that I've still not been able to get a clear answer on in terms of being an indie filmmaker and making a web series.
All right. Eric's call had dropped. Eric, is this you back on the line? No, I cannot hear you. Try to call back at the other number if you can. Let's see what happens with that. No. All right, so we're going to move that question on to Danielle. Danielle, what has your promotion marketing experience been like for your projects?
To be honest, my answer is almost the same. It's touch and go. Like, even with having a network such as Reverie, who has their own marketing project, they have a whole marketing department, but they use social media as well, and they got the same type of reactions we got, because it depends on, like, my fan page for 3030 has 3,000 or 4,000 something followers, and they get all these likes, but does that mean they watch the show? Because then it takes more. Like, the modern person is so lazy, because double-click keeps scrolling. But to watch the show, I have to double-click, then I have to click on the page, and then I have to click on the link, and then they have the nerve to ask me to subscribe too. So it's almost like, but I dropped a movie October 8th on Facebook. That movie in a week got more views on Facebook than the things that total on my entire YouTube page. And Facebook gives you the insights, the demographics of who watched it, who watched the full thing, who watched half of it, who watched 3 seconds of it. And on Facebook, because people are sitting there doing that anyways, with the whole movie playing, out of the 6,000 and some change views that we got at that very moment, 5,000 of them watched the entire film. So it's just kind of like, it's touch and go. It depends on who, what, where, how. We try. Of course, we do all types of social media marketing. They have the ability to boost posts. They have all these different things. You talk to people word of mouth. You know, you use cast members that have their own following. You do whatever you can to get as many eyes on it. But it's all about who is actually going to take that extra step to hit play.
All right. So, Sasha, I know your web series has not come out yet, and this is going to be your first web series. You heard from Roger and Danielle talk about what their experience is like in terms of marketing and promoting the project that they have. So listening to that and kind of having your own idea about what you're going to do, what is your plan when it comes to promoting your first web series?
I used to do web design, and I used to do a lot of analytics, not for Google specifically, but I understood like how it worked for small businesses. I used to freelance. So as they said, it's touch and go. It depends on what platform you're on and what you're trying to really achieve. Like for Facebook, people have very short attention spans. For YouTube, people have very short attention spans. And I guess you just have to pick just a couple of platforms, because that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just pick a few platforms and then go based off of that and just really study it first and like see how people react to things, and just ask people that you actually know, like how, like when you say watch a YouTube video, do you watch 3 minutes of it? Do you watch this? Or if you go to an Instagram page, what is going to compel you to like something and then go to their website? Or what's going to compel you to subscribe to certain things? So like they said, it's touch and go, but I think it's just doing a lot of research and picking just maybe 2 or 3 platforms to work off of. And then as you build your team, then you can kind of just launch it anywhere you want, and including budgeting too. So.
All right. So we got about 5 minutes left in the program, and I want to touch on 2 more topics. One, I want you guys to be able to promote what's coming up next. We want to do that last, but the first thing I want you to do is give advice to our young African-American, Afro-Latino filmmakers out there who just kind of started or who want to start becoming filmmakers. What advice would you give them? And I'll start with Brandon.
My advice is always to not get discouraged comparing yourself to others who may be in a place that you aspire to be. I think as a creator, you always see someone who may have the subscribers or may have the views or may have the backing or the buzz that you want, and you may not be there right away, but you have to remember that there's a starting point for everyone. So you may not have it now, but if you take it as seriously as they took it and you believe that this is your passion, you're going to put everything into it, and you will have it one day. So that was, I know, especially for me, I would always get a little discouraged, but yeah, everyone has a starting point, and I've seen it myself. I've seen how I've gone from like no one following to people, checking in on YouTube saying when's the next season or when's the next episode. So it makes you feel good to know someone's out there checking for you. So just remember that everybody has a starting point, and your starting point doesn't have to be your ending point if that's if you treat it seriously.
Okay, Danielle, what advice would you have for upcoming filmmakers?
My advice is do it. You can't be reserved and have a goal. That's not how this works. You have to be fearless in your point. You have to be fearless in wanting your story told. You can't be scared of what they're going to think. You can't be scared of who's going to watch it. You can't be scared that nobody is going to watch it. You have to have enough confidence in what you're going to do to know that somebody is going to care. Even if one person has changed, that's one person that didn't have your story in their lives. And we're in a time and place where we don't need anything. As the young man said on the phone, people are filming with cell phones. They have film festivals that are totally restricted to people who only use iPhones. In 2017, all you have to do is have a story and a vision. All the rest of that stuff is null and void. Do it.
Sasha, what advice would you give to new filmmakers who want to break into the industry?
Just start and do not be afraid to make mistakes. And I'm having a hard time dealing with not being perfectionist, but just take that out of the equation, and just as you go, it's just muscle memory, and it's just building onto prior knowledge. That's really important. So you just have to do as much as you can so you can just really gain as much knowledge as you can and share. Always share.
Excellent. And last but not least, Mr. Roger, what advice would you give to a filmmaker who's just starting out?
Well, just piggybacking on everything that everyone else has just said, you can't be afraid to put your art out there. You also can't be afraid of, once your art is out there, it's going to be interpreted differently by different people, which is, I think, the purpose of art. People walk away from what they're seeing. It may be different from what your message was, but once you've released it, it's out there. Don't be afraid of the mistakes you're going to make, because that only it only improves on your skills as you go forward. Always, even though you may be a perfectionist, put the stuff out there anyway, even if it's not the level that you want it to be, because once you look at it, the mistakes you're looking at that that are mistakes. A lot of people don't even realize that. So the little things that we put in, we're like, oh, this, they're not noticing it. It's not that they're not noticing it. They are, but they're more involved in the story. So just perfect your story, perfect the way you make it for yourself, but do not just sit there and not release it because it is not the perfection that you think it should be.
90
you're only
seconds.
doing yourself a disservice. People out there will love to see your content. There will be viewers, so just put it out there.
So guys, remember, we have a resource page on blackpillradio.com where you guys will be able to find our viewers' work, find their websites and their social media contact information so you guys can contact with them. Very quickly, Danielle, what is the name of your web series?
I have two that are out currently, 30/30 and
60 seconds.
Say that last one again.
Girls Just Don't Do That.
Okay. And what is the name of your web series, Brandon?
The first one is DC Yuppies. That's on YouTube, and I'm currently releasing episodes for Bad Web Series, which is also on YouTube, every Monday at 7.
Okay. And Roger, what are the name of your web series?
They are Finding Me the series and Decalogue, a Finding Me story.
And Sasha, your web series has not come out yet, but what is the name of it and when might we see it?
It's Basic to Bougie. It might be out by early December.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys for joining the panel. I appreciate all the advice you gave to our audiences. This will be replayed on iTunes.
10 seconds.
Google Play, YouTube, Blog Talk Radio, and Black Pill Radio. As always, guys, stay safe, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Peace.